for the same. So in the first part, we'll be discussing about it. So this is just a 3D render of the entire insert. This was an urban project. And these are the sheets that I had sent for qualification. If we get shortlisted, then we go to the finals. And there is where we are supposed to present to the live jury. In our time, the jury was Bernard Ernesto, he was from Singapore, architect Palinda Kanagra, he was from Sri Lanka, and architect Sanjay Moesar, who is from Bangalore, as we all know. So the topic or the name that we had for the project was Antarnar, the inner voice of water tank. So what the water tank might have felt through the years, because it was a World Heritage site. So what it could have felt throughout the years, and how importance or how it should be a focal point in the entire insert. So basically what we did is that the radial diverging lines from the water tank became the main ruling lines for our design as well. And this is just the sheets part that I'll share, and then we'll talk in detail about the presentation. So here we are trying to pitch the basic diagramming that explains the overall concept, the zoning, and the form evolution. Just a plan view with side circulation and internal circulation. Few sections and renders. Now you need not give them the entire idea of the project, but just the gist in these sheets, so that even they have an inquisitiveness that, okay, so this is what you're trying to do and I would like to learn more. Because at a point, if you show them everything, then this is something that may or may not interest the jury to see your work in the further work or sheets. And this is the last sheet where we showed that how the same spaces can be used in different timings in different activities, and just few another renders. So the synopsis being that this is an urban insert that works on the ideology of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, that is global family, and indeed provides a space for the whole city to mingle, where the different activities could be carried out throughout the campus and throughout the day for varied age groups and people from all the sects, caste, professions, and religion. Now I'll show the same thing that was done in my final presentation. So heritage. The word itself is too grand to be taken lightly, and it's revival. So it was a great opportunity for us. As soon as we heard about this design brief, it took us back to our childhood days. Indeed, the best days of our lives, right? Thinking of the movies, Cars, and Lightning McQueen, knowing what all ego can do, even to the fastest car ever. But what all could be lost when you forget a legend, which has lost his confidence and identity. It was like the urban fabric was trying to overpower the only monumental structure there, and just some glass facades and tall designs cannot take over the glory, right? So it was like the water tank still wishes to be known, and it still wishes to stand out. So we could hear it cry, and we present to you Antarnath, the inner voice of water tank. Now, like every story, even our story has 3 chapters. The first one being vision, the second one being attachment, and third one being demonstrating. So chapter 1, vision. The foremost aim was to revive its lost dignity and importance. So radial diverging lines became our guidelines for the design and zoning and mass development. So this is how the form evolution goes. This is the water tank and the existing fabric. And these are the existing trees on site, keeping the sun path in mind and the wind direction. We had a mass placed above first and cut out different spaces for circulation. And even over this opposite side of the road. Now we did is that entire space was taken underground into the Sankan Plaza, as all of this is commercial places and they have paid good money to be seen from the road. Now, if you are building above the road, it gets hampered and you have a like difference in opinion or interest. So you have to respect the existing site and fabric, but still going underground, what it did was it increased our viewers in the vicinity as well. So this kind of design helps to add the softness to the existing fabric, and hence the obstruction, or there is an unobstructed view to the tank from the all the parts of the site. And this was the final insert. The plans, as we all know, juries have requirements. The plan at minus 500 level, and these shows all the different parts of our context and the complex. So the entire thing was sunken, and we had different parts designed for different age group people, and both these parts are connected by an underground spine, which worked as the viewing gallery that could be rented out, so it could generate economy as well for the city. Now the things we used were earth sheltering methods, so that it does not stand out but also blend in with the existing context, but it is something that is iconic but not monumental. These are few of the renders. Chapter 2, attachment to the site. Now basically it's like getting to know the site. People getting attached to each other because of your insert is people getting attached to your insert. This becomes possible because of the versatile nature of the plaza that could be transformed as a base for many activities throughout the days. So as we discussed, these are the different activities that could be happening in the sunken plaza during the morning, afternoon, evening, and during the night time. Now, all of these activities have to happen on the other side of the road as well. So again, morning, afternoon, evening, and the night time. Now, not just activities, but people have to enjoy it throughout the year. So keeping in mind the festivals, it could transform into any space. So basically what we are trying to do is we are trying to pitch a blank canvas. It is the users who have to paint it. You can provide space, but you cannot just, have someone or force someone to do things. The space has to do it for you. So that is what we are trying to do. So Independence Day, Shivaji Jayanti, as it is a part of Maratha period, Dhuleti, Ganesh Chaturthi, Eid, Diwali, and Christmas. So yes, so that is what we are trying to do. We are trying to pitch a blank canvas, and it has a lot of different areas catering to people of different ages, ideologies, genders, and everything. A view from the galleries towards the tank, the meditation area, a public seating, the amphi. Chapter 3, demonstration. All of this isn't just about nostalgia and romanticism with the site. This urban insert is scientifically a working boon to the city as well, because it has some of the salient features that is supported from IGBC, like it has 100% VOC free built environment. We have catered rainwater harvesting, 100% heat island reduction, as we have had green roofs over the spaces, 85% naturally daylit spaces, 60% energy efficiency above the baseline because of earth sheltering, 50% HVAC load reduction above baseline as we are going underground. So the comfort and the geothermal energy works in that fashion. And 40% of savings in water consumption, that is potable water consumption above baseline. Showing exploded views and material palette can make it interesting, as well as clear to the jury that what we are trying to pitch. And you have to support all of this with data. So this is how you prove it with simulations, with digits. So this is how we are talking about the digits. So you prove how much rainwater is going to be collected. Do you have that amount of efficiency? Does the surface runoff support it? And things of that sort. Water efficient plumbing systems. So basically, this revival isn't just about architecture. It is to bring some life into the fabric and people out of their mundane lives. The symbolism of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam is reflected by the versatile nature of this space, and it brings together people. All of this has become possible just because of the glorious past and decades, and even more of that, the courageous future that waits for this tank. So let us just take a vow today to use water judiciously, as it is not a return from the past, but a loan from the future. So in this competition, we stood second, and the only mistake that I made was that I couldn't keep in account the existing greenery. I had cut down 3 trees that are lined up over here, and we stood second for that. So please keep that in mind while you are doing something of same sort. Now, if we have questions related this, we can take it right now or we move further. Uh, Kushi Gadia has some question, I guess. You aren't audible enough if you are speaking. Hello, am I audible enough? I guess we'll move on to the next slides.
Kushi, I understand you want to ask something, but let us wait till the presentation is over and then Sharman can take the questions.
Yes.
You can even put in the chat box, what questions you have, so we can take them in due course.
Now we'll be going through my urban design undergrad work. These are the group sheets that all of us, like 20, 30 people of us had worked together. So I'll just scroll through these and
Kushi, please mute yourself.
we'll jump back to my presentation. So we are understanding Baroda as a city and the layers. So this is about the morphology. This might not connect to majority of the people, but the urban semester students can get a grasp of this, and even the rest of you can try. So we are looking at how the city evolves over a period of time, how the morphology and the built mass increases. The greenery or the vegetation has decreased over a course of time. Then we were looking at different spots and major road junctions about the traffic issues they had been facing throughout the day. This was during 8 a.m. and different time zones throughout the day. We fetched a few important landmarks, which is an important part of the city mapping. This is the built versus unbuilt ratio to see what is the density of built mass in a particular area. The hydrology mapping showing the contours and what are the possible flooding areas and the existing lakes of the city of this part. The road networks, its morphology and basic sketches. A road network sheet in detail showing the existing things along with their sections with a photograph to support the same, to have a holistic idea about what are the major nodes and what do we say the primary, secondary and tertiary streets of the same area. Now, by studying through all these layers, we come to the issues and potentials of that site. So, issues and potential is something that can be very generic and very informal uh, to connect to the people. So, what we had done is we had kept a chat like thing that what are the real issues being faced by the people, and it could just be a conversation between two and different typologies of people. It could be a street vendor's point of view, a beggar's point of view, or a bharwat's point of view, because all of these have different voices. So these are the sketches of those issues, and we are trying to see that this is a mass or a chunk of people, and what all is coming out as a whole are many issues, and even many people can relate to it on different scales. For someone, if the water is dirty, they have to cook in it. For someone, it is dirty, they have to clean with it. So the same problem can be reduced or notified on different scales. So this is what we are trying to say. Again, these are all the group sheets done by my classmates and me. So even they deserve a hell lot of credit for it. And this was a conclusive sheet where we came up with possible proposals for the area. Like it could have a sports and health club center, an NGO, a public library, festive or seasonal markets, a mall or commercial building, student housing, animal shelters, lake development areas, and permanent vegetable markets. So these are the possible outcomes or possible proposals for my urban studio. Now I selected was again urban heart. So basically a market, if we can say, in a very simplified form. So cities have cities have the capabilities of providing something for everybody. Only because and only when they are created by everybody. So this is by Jane Jacobs, and I'm quoting it from the book The Death and Life of Great American Cities. So in the current pace of city development, as the population is growing rapidly, the use and necessity of public spaces are ignored. But as Jane Jacob mentions, more public spaces add life to the city and moreover ensures the other aspects like safety, vibrancy, and access to resources. Public places or buildings in a city are the places where people feel an unconscious sense of ownership. And these areas and nodes, which are the spaces where the real interaction between different typologies of people happen. So these are the spaces which are supposed to be recreational as well. And along with recreational, it has to have a sense of learning, awareness, and also celebrate the culture of the entire city. So that is why I studied Vadodara as a whole. This was my area of study in particular. And we came down with issues of the entire area. So that is flooding, contamination of groundwater, lack of sanitary measures, and many more. So this is just the water bodies network, the green or the basically the public parks network, malls, market network. And when we overlap all of these, we find that the area of study that we have is devoid of all of these spaces. So what I tried, that the concerns being irregularity of interventions, limited resources, loss of community and social inequality, the possible proposals were slum redevelopment, utopian township and many more. But I selected Vadodara Heart and I'm trying to solve these issues. Now, there might be many issues, but you have to stick down to a few. You cannot solve each and every problem through just one intervention. And trying to do so, you might get carried away till an extent that you might not be able to complete your design process, or you keep on designing, but you cannot produce the amount of work that is supposed to be shown for the faculty to grasp your thought or the concept. So you have to stop designing at one point and start the production, and you have to stop the conceptualization of your space at one point as well. So the aim was Vadodara Heart as an urban catalyst and a space that is truly inclusive for people at a scale relatable to all the tribes. So what I'm trying to do is bring all the tribes of India to Vadodara Heart. So as it is a seasonal tribe, but a seasonal space, but the tribes keep on changing, the atmosphere keeps on changing, so the public does not get bored of it, and the space remains perennial because hearts are usually very, what do we say, season friendly. હવે મેળો લાગે છે આપણા ત્યાં next to Ratri Bazaar, so that is for just 1-2 months. People go there, have fun, and it has to close down to a certain point. But if the government is investing a certain amount of rupees in it, you have to keep it, you have to have some nuances that it is a perennial thing. So the vision was inviting next gen budding professionals. It had to be influential, so bringing shopping and hands on experience together, collaborative spaces, so that is bringing people together, educating, so taking a tour through cradle to cart. Basically, the entire process has to be explained before you buy a thing, so that obviously to the people who are interested in, but it creates a sense of inquisitiveness that we have to have before buying something, and enabling so the vulnerable and the endangered can make an impact to the market. So why Vadodara Art? Because it brings together local markets, recreational spaces, public park, and the cultural center of the city. And we have many allied benefits like a step closer to Atmanirbhar Bharat. It supports the GIDB policies of growth. And according to 2031 DP plan, it caters to the foreseen demand of these supplies. It supports the local economy and cottage industries as well as improved ecology of the space. Now, basically, we are trying to strengthen the fringe. In the past, the rural was overpowering the urban context. But in present, in terms of community, not population, but the urban is overpowering, and economically, urban is possibly neck to neck with the rural. In future, we do not need, or we do not have to need urban overpower the rural. So what we can do is let them overlap at a certain point, and that is where Vadodara Heart comes in, because it deals with art and artifacts of different cultures, culture and cuisine, workshop and exhibition, and recreational and realm spaces. So rather than having segregation of different spaces, you can have different spaces in the same complex. So basically, we are bringing India together in terms of art, food, textiles, and culture. Now, I designed, rather, I proposed a network of hearts, possibly for all the spaces, and after overlapping, we get a proper network of Vadodara Heart throughout the city. Now, I just selected one patch to detail it out, but it was a modular thing which could be repeated in different parts. So this was my site, the road networks, figure ground, morphology of the urban fabric, proposed site for intervention, the building typologies, land use, coming to the context. So this was my selected proposed zone, and in the existing context, this is used as grazing land. Now this is at in the easternmost part of Baroda. This is used as the grazing land for now. It has an existing water body, temporary squatter settlements, rentable spaces, and landfilling is done for the surrounding developing sites. So these are the adjacent roads. So what I decided was to do the development in two phases, phase 1 and phase 2, and treating the entire boundary with artificial contours. Now, as the land is being used for landfilling, we have a lot of good alluvial soil available there. So we can just reuse that soil and make something beautiful out of it. The center space remains the core of the design, as every heart has one. And there were 3 pedestrian access and 1 vehicular access, Now, the main part that many of us forget or tend to lose is the diagramming part. When we are in a presentation stage, each diagram for a different point can really help the faculty to grasp as well as prove your point easily. You need not indulge into, unnecessary conversations or exceed the amount of time you are given, while rather you can just have a same map. Now what I have done is, this is the same plan, and all of us are smart enough to use Photoshop now. So you can keep on adding layers on the same thing. It becomes very clear and very quick for a presentation like this. So this was the public realm inner circle, and surrounding were the spaces of the heart or the shops. Again, the site layout. Now phase 2 is left with dense greenery and just a walkway. So even after the heart is closed, people can use it for morning walks or evening strolls or something of that sort. So these were the sections. Now, what I have done is, in an urban scale, the sections need to be explained, but you cannot detail out the sections like in very finite manner. So you can have details blowing up, or you could just have sketches or illustrations made for all these details, because it is such a vast scale that working on SketchUp, CAD, and all the different platform at once won't help you, and you won't be able to cover your entire requirements. So you can have the sections of SketchUp and you can detail out just the things you have to in CAD or some other platform. Blown up section. Similarly, so we are achieving daylight and maximum ventilation through the passive sustainable approach. Intermediate courts are provided to host workshops and can be used as performance areas. Eateries where there's an exchange of flavors amidst the people of different corners of the country. And the edge conditions of the site are developed with boulders and native vegetation like bamboo and neem. Now, all of this is not visible in a single section like this. So details will help you. These are the 3D renders for the same. And this is my urban work. Yes, I guess we have time left. So now we'll quickly go through my thesis work. In thesis, all of us are always in a doubt that what topic is to be selected, and my topic has to be of a certain level, or it has to be something new. I can create an entire, even I started with ideas like those, that I wanted to create a new city as an extension of Mumbai, a Navi Mumbai extension basically, but in the sea. So basically we can have all the city or the new spaces over there, and basically a metropolis of a different sort. But that is something, frankly, I overestimated myself, because it is at a scale that I do not have the understanding about, and it is at a scale that we are not supposed to work on at like undergrad level. During a thesis selection or a thesis topic selection, you have to keep in mind that you can or you should have to do the justice to the topic you are selecting. The topic need not be unique, but the design surely has to. So even if the design is unique, it will make a lot of sense, and a lot of learnings out of it can come, because in every semester, all of us probably have been there, we get design blocks. We cannot design beyond a certain limit, and we cannot even start designing till a certain phase. So the maximum amount of design, if I think that anyone has ever given to a design, is 1.5 months. Uske baad it is just about, ये red color अच्छा नहीं लग रहा, let us try some black granite over it, or I'm not trying, or I'm not possibly convinced with my design. It is just about thinking and procrastination. So make sure what you're trying to do is conveyed enough. You have good amount of work, you have good level of work, And all of our faculties have always taught us that keep the three C's in mind. It has to be complete, it has to be correct, and it has to be concise. You cannot go blabbering about or beyond a certain point, else even the jury loses interest in your work. Keep it quick, keep it simple, and do it best till your abilities can. So I just decided to do an IT office, Google headquarters India, and tried my best to give justice to it. So topic and site justification. Now this was the phase where the juries were supposed to happen offline. So you are trying or you are looking at the very sheet form of presentation. While the time the design starts, we'll switch back to the normal PPT mode. So this is my research work regarding the site I have chosen is in Hyderabad, Gachibowli area, which is the new developing IT hub of Hyderabad. As Bangalore is now maxed out with development in basis of IT sector, and you do not want like urbanization of an urban space beyond a certain limit just does not make sense. So case studies, again these are in the sheet formats. So now I decided to do case studies on 5 different scales. Understanding branding. So that is why I did Lego Campus. Understanding conciseness, because a short span or a short footprint building can also be beautiful. Understanding a large building or an entire campus. So that was Apple Park. Titan Integrity Campus by Moe sir. So as to understand working spaces in terms of Indian context, and basically life at Google. So the playfulness, the character, and even the typology of spaces, that all I could get through was from life at Google. So that is the different Google offices throughout the world. So again, this is what I've extracted from all my case studies, basically spaces. Now, architecturally, Google for me is an intersection of space, people, and technology. And what are the driving forces of any workspace? It has to be connectivity, autonomy, mobility, and flexibility. If we are done with these 4, like the basic fundas, then we are through with the entire semester. A conceptualization of a space can probably take the maximum amount of time, because even I remember during my jury, till the second development phase, all I had was 3 sketches and nothing beyond that. But those 3 sketches were very clear to me that what all was supposed to be done in my design, and after then production can always be covered. So it is just a suggestion that even if you are stuck, it doesn't mean that you have to be or you are behind others, but make sure that you cope up in the end. So the basic divide of spaces goes in 2 directions. As the interaction increases, the group spaces come in mind. So we go towards we owned. So the basic divide is in 2 parts: I owned spaces and we owned spaces. As the occupancy increases and the interaction increases, we go towards the we owned. So I working works on 2 parameters, that is focus and learning, while we owned spaces goes towards collaboration and socialization. Now the work areas and associative spaces. So these are the different types of spaces I wanted in my design or the design requirement. So design needs studios, pods, open hubbles, conference rooms, R&D department, offices. Now all of this is divided into a basic legend of focus, learning, socializing, and collaborative. So engineering, media UX UI, legal, sales, human resource, admin. So bringing all of this together, I decided to have open office spaces. So there is more of collaboration and less of like divide between the spaces. So integrated spaces and even breakout spaces, because mental health as well as people working over there, in order to increase their productivity, they have to have some me time or chill time. So breakout spaces is very important. The surroundings. So these were the road networks, and this was my selected patch of site. And major buildings in the immediate context were ISB, Indian School of Business. A few of you have had uh, Terry School of Design as a site. So this is very close to it in Hyderabad, Gachibowli area. ICICI headquarters, Wipro, even Microsoft has got its headquarters over here. So site selection was a major part, and the existing fabric also supports your thing. Unless and until it is a tender project, you will have to prove that why is your site and topic viable at a particular point. So this is how it helped me. And if possible, I would highly recommend visiting the site, even if it is in the time of such a pandemic, because it is a different experience altogether, and no Google Earth or Google Maps can do justice to what we are trying to learn. So these are the adjacent roads. Proposed site for phase 1. Space segregation is done in two phases, like the public access zone and the restricted zone. And these were the initial concepts. It can be as ugly as these and as generic as these, unless and until you are able to prove your point and make the faculty understand what you are trying to pitch. It doesn't matter whatever you do on a piece of paper. So again, these are the basic sketches I made for, like, this is my work up till the second important jury that we had in our thesis. Design jury 2. Now we start with the entire work of my internal final jury. So the site brief and development. This is my site. The phase 1 development. Creating a grid in order to have the major connection or the connecting zones, overlapping it with a curvilinear, what do we say, a spine, in order to engage through the different activities that will be happening in the vicinity. And these are the spaces where people can collaborate. Enhancing with landscape. And this is going to be the phase 1 development. And this will be the entire master layout, the proposed master layout. So all I'm trying to do is I've designed only this much amount of space, and the rest can be developed further as per the needs of the client. Or because it is a big company like Google, they always have foreseen or many demands that they do not know as of this point. So it is good to have a huge chunk of land and exploit only a part of it, rather than already selecting a site which has contained you. The adjacent approach road, connection, collaboration, and engage. The form evolution goes as follows. So a sense of belonging and identity, bisecting the entire mass through a central spine for visual and physical connection in the interior parts. Common service cores with central atrium. Now the service cores have to be very near and concise in order to keep the circulation minimum, and optimum spaces can be used for your true functions. So again, optimize circulation. Keeping climate into consideration. Climate is always a part. So now we have contextual studios, we have sustainability studios. These are in order to make us understand each and everything in isolation. But when you're working on a scale of urban, or when you're working on a scale of thesis, all of this has to work in cohesion. You cannot just keep thinking about one and neglect the other. You will have to prioritize the layers for sure, but you cannot just leave out anything and everything that has been taught to you. So the climate responsive forms, I need to have overhangs on my southern side with jarlies and lures. So that is what I have done. And with lots of green spaces and green pockets in order to break down such a huge chunk of building. Blurring the boundaries between indoors and outdoors through immediate landscape. So these are the floor layouts. The fire truck or the fire tender circulation, vehicular movement, and this works as my drop-off point, while this is the parking. and pedestrian circulation. So as I was speaking, again, diagramming will help you for each and every point you're trying to say. You can quickly go through these during your thesis, final jury or jury, or my area program. And this is the ground floor layout. So we'll quickly go through the floor plans and jump to sections. Now it is good if you have a key plan with a section line so as to correlate with what spaces you are trying to pitch or show. This is the central atrium I was talking about, which takes care of the daylight and ventilation of the spaces and could work as a huge gathering hall for the entire office. Even structure is a very important part of your design. Please keep in mind that the design you're trying to make is possible, like it is physically possible to be built, else it is like literally talking in the air. And that is what we do till the 6th semester, I suppose. Once we are done with the internship, I guess that practical approach has to be incorporated. So these are few of the sections. Again, sustainability is always a part. So if it is something that interests you, do include. And if not, try to have the basics or the passive strategies clear. You can show the material palette on side in order to support the points you're trying to say. And these are the 3D simulations. And this was my thesis work. Now we can quickly go through few of the competition sheets. Now all of this is done with my very close friends at ITM. Suleimani Ali, Heath Salia, and I did this competition. This was by Arc Melo, and this was a student housing competition. So we'll just quickly go through these sheets. This was one of my attempt for Navratna School of Design, and Triple ID had come together. Triple ID had come with an initiative, Corona Kuch, during the lockdown. So this was a 100-meter span of urban space that I had designed as a module that could be copied or used in any part of the city. Again, this was another competition by Arc Melo, which I did with Vaidehi Desai and Siddhant Manpara, two of my very dear friends. And this was my entry for Drawing Board 2020. Unfortunately, we did not even get shortlisted, but I would like to share the sheets with you. And this was possibly the most difficult competition we had ever done. Again, this was with Ali, Heath Salia, and Vaidehi Desai. Four of us had tried to participate in the CTBUH competition, and that is a skyscraper competition. And this was our design. What we tried to do is we tried to build a city, a vertical city basically, and this was done in Kerala. So keeping the tea gardens in mind and the basic or the regional context, we tried to pitch architecture out of it. We weren't shortlisted, but those were about 1500 entries throughout the world. So again, it was a very good experience. You can always keep on trying. Unless and until you feel like you have done enough, you have to keep on going. So this was again one of the competitions that I did. I guess we are done with the time as well, and we can jump to the questions now if we have any.
So students, hello, am I audible?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, so students, a very good opportunity. You can ask Sharman any doubts or any questions regarding, how did he deal with faculties or how, to answer these questions when faculties ask. He's actually been uh, very good at his work and you have seen his work now. So, and he has actually explained it very well. How do you, address these issues or how do you cater to situations like this? So you can ask any question you like. Come on. You can ask him even questions about how to, participate in a competition because he has done many. So what is it expected? How to work for it or anything? Come on, guys.
And now will be a good time to see some faces.
Tushi, you had a question, right, in the middle of the presentation. You can ask.
Shreya has a question. Go
Yeah,
on,
hello
Shreya.
everybody. Hi ma'am, hi Sharman. How are you
Hello,
doing?
Shreya. Bus, all good.
Yeah, I wanted to ask that you are a cricketed professional, right?
Yes,
Uh, yeah, how did you come up with that? And I mean, you got certified before completing the degree, right?
yes.
So, is it very difficult for us to attempt while doing our school? I mean, architecture school, obviously. And
Uh,
how what to do?
Actually, the things have changed right now. During my time, I gave the exam in a second year itself. Now you can get IGBC Green Associate and not directly AP. For becoming an AP, you have to show 2 years of professional, what do we say, experience. So you get converted from
Experience? Yeah.
associate to AP. And as far as I
Okay.
know, it is not that tough, but you have to have a certain niche for sustainability. The entire exam is divided into four parts. It is basic, like what ASHRAE deals with, what IGBC deals with, leads. So basically the acronyms and what are the basic standards. Now we look at ECBC 2017 or 2018 for certain norms that are supposed to be followed for each and every design. Soon it is going to be done that GDCR and EC, like every design has to be ECBC compliant. So unless and until everyone has a thought about it or knowledge about it, we cannot even pass the plans. जो अभी SMC में या फिर वूडा में ऐसे ही हो जाते हैं, eventually that won't be happening. So IGBC is a platform where you can slowly start getting to know things and eventually we'll get involved in a very different fashion. So then we start thinking about lead, Griha. But I would suggest starting with IGBC because it is not that big of a high tech or very complicated thing, but still it is something good to begin with. I don't know if
Okay.
I
Yeah.
answered your question.
Yeah, I had few questions on that. So yeah, no issues. Thank you.
Thank you.
I got my answers. Yeah, and of course I saw your drawing board entry. I had these updates about the entry. Very nice competition.
Thank you so much.
I mean the students who are right now, I guess, in college can definitely work on these kind of competitions, right? Sharma?
Yes,
What do you say?
because these competitions are actually made for the students. There are many competitions which are including both the professionals and students, but that is not something we can directly compete on, or that is a very different scale. But working on student competitions is always a good thing to start with.
So anybody else has anything to ask, anything to add?
Sharman, also can you add on softwares which we should have in hand while or during our graduation? I mean, obviously,
Software,
I have completed my graduation, but this is
yeah, I
for
know.
information. Yeah.
So basically, we can break it down to 2D and 3D things. So CAD is always there. Now people are coming up with ArchiCAD and Revit. So what Revit and ArchiCAD does is you already work in 3D and you simultaneously keep on producing the plan and sections. So you work on all the three dimensions at a single time. So Revit is there. If you are keeping about or thinking about conceptualization of spaces, SketchUp is a very good tool because it is a very go-to and handy thing. I don't know if all of us have access to iPads and everything, but Shaper 3D is a very good software, and so is Trace, Morpholio Trace for conceptualization of spaces. Even I started using it very recently because of my very good friend's advice. Also, Photoshop is always there for rendering of plan sections. And if you are too much into the technicalities, Revit is a very good platform. It is a BIM platform where you can keep on thinking about the U value and even the R values of the materials, the simulations and all it has with different. Dynamo is a very good plugin, and so is Insight 360. These are very good plugins for sustainability approach. So Sapphira, as Sapphira works for SketchUp, you have got Insight 360 for Revit, but the results are very different and accurate in Insight 360 rather than Sapphira. So yes, these are a few of the softwares that you have to have. Baki, there are plenty. If you are working on an iPad, there is Concepts. Uh, Adobe Suite is always there. So yeah. For renders, I prefer Lumion and V-Ray. I'm not an Inkscape person. This is my email. If anyone has some doubts in the future or they need to catch up, they can email me without any hesitation. And this is my phone number. If I'm happy to help any person, like if you're going through some rough patch or design block, or you even if you just want to talk about architecture or anything, you can feel free to contact. Do we have any more questions?
Students, do you have any more questions? If no, then I'd like to thank Sharman for a wonderful presentation and an insight of how to deal with the projects, how to deal with the competition projects. Thank you so much, Sharman. It was
Thank you so
very
much, ma'am.
helpful and a very informative session with you. Dipali ma'am, do we end?
Yes, yes. Sharman, thank you. That was a wonderful bag of presentation of academic projects, of your competitions, and we certainly, look forward to having you once more on this platform, maybe sometime in the future.
For
So
sure, ma'am.
keep doing the good work. And the students, I really wish you would have, asked him a lot of questions about presentation, about, approach to design concepts. Of course, he was talking about everything, but uh, I request all of you, to be curious enough to identify questions and have doubts in your mind. The more the questions you have, I'm sure uh, the more you are going to learn. Anyway, this is hopefully in the next webinar. I request all of you to interact in a better manner. Thank you once again, Sharman.
Thank
I
you so
think we
much,
can
ma'am.
conclude the session here. Thank you.
Yes, thank you.